Welcome to Hannity Tonight. We have a jam-packed edition of the show. America, are you ready? Let's roll.
Have you ever met Tim Scott?
A Hannity exclusive.
No, he said we could talk.
I understand. We're trying to march. We're not trying to talk.
We confront the NAACP leader who called Senator Tim Scott a ventriloquist dummy for the GOP.
Do you feel you owe Senator Tim Scott an apology for calling him a ventriloquist dummy?
New allegations that former First Lady Hillary Clinton was ruthless in dealing with women involved in her husband's sex scandals.
This vast right-wing conspiracy that has been conspiring against my husband.
But was it actually the Clintons who were conspiring? Two of her closest advisors, Lanny Davis and James Carville, they will be here tonight to respond. And who's to blame, the player or the fan? We have the inside story.
That's disgusting behavior.
Plus, Rosie O'Donnell returns to The View with this surprising announcement.
How do you annoy your left-wing liberal pacifist mother? You become a big military man.
Hannity starts right here, right now. Now, as we have been reporting, the Reverend William Barber, president of the North Carolina chapter of the NAACP, has come under fire for saying this about Republican Senator Tim Scott. Quote, a ventriloquist can always find a good dummy. The extreme right wing down here finds a black guy to be senator and claims he's the first black senator since Reconstruction. Then he goes to Washington, D.C. and articulates the agenda of the Tea Party. Now, Reverend Barber has not apologized for those comments or for saying that the Tea Party seeks out minorities to use as, quote, mouthpieces. Now, we've asked Mr. Barber several times to come on this program to explain these comments. He's declined. So our good friend David Webb, he went down to Raleigh, North Carolina for this weekend's Moral March and try and catch up with him. Now, here's how it went the first time.
David Webb, I just want to ask you a couple questions. Have you ever met Tim Scott?
Can we cool? Come on.
No, he said we could talk.
I understand. We're trying to march. We're not trying to talk.
Right. Now, the second try was not much better, but the Reverend did invite David to attend a press conference later in the day, and here's how that went.
Do you feel you owe Senator Tim Scott an apology for calling him a ventriloquist dummy and black conservatives mouthpieces for the Tea Party?
It's my job, it's my calling, the job of the NAACP to speak the truth about public policies.
All right.
And while some people may choose to get caught up on a metaphor that is a regular usage of preachers, the real indignation and upsetness should be over the regressive agenda.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? Excuse me. Today is about the people of North Carolina. Dr. Barber answered your question, and now it's time to move on.
Do you think black conservatives are allowed to have just their frame of thought without being attacked publicly?
Our focus here is on today and the moral movement that we're engaged in. And your question can be answered at a later point, but it won't be answered today.
All right, here to talk more about his confrontation is Sirius XM Patriot radio host, Fox News contributor David Webb. David, thank you for doing this. Good to see you. How are you?
Hey, anytime.
Where is the national NAACP? Because this is a local chapter, local president. Has anybody in the national movement spoken out against him?
No, they haven't. Matter of fact, they're represented because they have other representatives of the NAACP at this march. And it's something I want people to pay attention to, Sean, because it is the attack on Tim Scott. It is not the language of the pulpit, as he calls it. It's not hyperbole. It's a bigoted attack. On top of that, they will not answer or will not go into anyone who challenges them on their narrative. But this is the gathering of progressive, and especially to the Democrats watching right now, pay attention. Democrats want North Carolina back. They lost it in 2010 to the Republicans. The progressives want to take it backwards even more. You've got the SEIU there. You've got their national director out of D.C. You've got the UFT, the FLCI. You've got all these.
But there's a big picture here. All right, so nobody in the national leadership, this is the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. We saw this.
Some colored people, not all.
Well, is it liberal? Is it Democratic? Because, you know, the first black senator since Reconstruction, that to me is a good thing.
By the way, demeaning a man who was a congressman, a businessman, who worked at Chick-fil-A to help his mother as a young man, someone who has actually done what the NAACP claims they advocate for. What they are is there for people who agree with them, not people who don't agree with them.
The NAACP is not for the advancement of colored people. It's for the advancement of people that have a democratic or liberal ideology.
Or actually, I wouldn't even call it democratic anymore. I'd say it's become more the liberal, Democrat, progressive ideology.
All right. Now, at the march this weekend, I thought this is an incredible line of questioning you had with some of the people that were marching, and you asked them about the Tea Party and whether they thought the Tea Party was racist. Watch this tape.
Do you think the Tea Party's racist?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Can you give me some examples? Can you give me an example now of how the Tea Party's racist?
No, because I'm not thinking about them right now. Let's see.
I think they're racist against blacks, Hispanics. I think they're racist
what's an
against
example?
Women.
What have they done?
Things they say about abortions.
It's their reaction to us having a black president that makes them racist.
Come here, you're very. Is the Tea Party racist? And can we give him examples of how the Tea Party?
Can you give me an example right now how the Tea Party's racist?
I suppose the thing that I actually can't talk about.
I don't know what you want me to say. They are.
All right, you get 4 yeses and 4 ahummas. I'm not thinking about them right now. I can't talk right now. Well, it speaks volumes, right?
It speaks volumes about not even understanding why they're there. And this is why I think there's a bigger picture that needs to be explained to the nation. Moral Monday is a collection of the hardcore progressives. It's not the people who represent North Carolina. It's a very small core. Now, I'm all for the American model, as you know. I believe people, the First Amendment, like you, they should have the right to protest. They have the right to organize. They filed their permits. They did all that right. But it's the message behind it, and it's the people involved with it. This is dangerous for the nation because they're part of that fundamental transformation that's hurting Americans.
All right. Now, you also asked the question if President Obama has failed the black community. And you asked this question before we show the tape. You asked it for a specific reason. Why?
Because I wanted to see if they would actually respond on policy, if they would actually talk about the realities, the black unemployment numbers that are double the national rate. For youth, it's even higher. Coming out of colleges.
50%.
Yeah, it is tragic. It's an epidemic. If it were a medical issue, it would be an epidemic.
If for example, this was a conservative president and there was a 50% unemployment, black unemployment rate in the country, I think we'd hear a lot more about it.
There'd be a political lynching of that president, and we've seen it before when there were problems.
All right, let's go to this tape where you asked the marchers, how has Barack Obama failed the black community? Watch the response.
Black unemployment's about double the national rate, and that's a real tragedy. Are you frustrated with President Obama? Do you think he's failed?
No. No. I think he's tried, and I think that Congress has failed him.
Didn't he promise us more? Has he failed?
I don't think so. He's working real hard. The Republicans are trying to keep him from moving forward.
Do you think the President Obama has failed the black community?
No. I think Republicans have failed. I think the Congress has failed.
Okay.
They have not done their job.
Let me ask this. I mean, it's his $7 trillion in debt. He got a stimulus, no shovel-ready jobs, no summer of recovery. Well, how's that the Republican? He got everything he wanted. He got Obamacare.
Well, they don't even answer because in other scenes that are not on tape, I talk to them and I ask them about Congress itself. They don't even understand that there's two houses of Congress. This is it. It's we have a split house. So when you talk to them, they blame the Republicans, treat that as Congress when Harry Reid has blocked bills passed by the Republicans. They're not looking at policy. Sean, this is narrative. There are ridiculous things being said there. Ridiculous things like one person got up on stage and said, well, every 30 minutes, a black kid is shot by police, murdered by police in this country. We have video of that. Reverend Barber got up and said we had 80 to 100,000 people. I got to tell you, this entire route would have been covered if there were 80 to 100,000 people. They're selling a lie.
You're conservative.
And they're not selling policies.
You're a conservative, and they seem to view you very negatively, wanted to push you aside, no more questions for you. Why do you think that is?
Because if you break the narrative they're trying to sell, and frankly the outright lack of facts, in some cases lies, then you have no use for them. Their goal is to get acolytes, whether it's disaffected old liberals or young kids who don't understand the issues or everywhere in between. Again, this is a collection of progressives, and we have to remember that.
Last question. If the national NAACP doesn't step in and fire him for saying that about Reverend Tim Scott, I think they lose all moral authority. I think there should be a national outrage within the NAACP organization. If it doesn't happen, do they lose any moral authority?
Well, what little they have left at the national leadership level. This is a national leadership that's against school choice, something that has been a big help in the black community. And also, there are good people at the local levels in the NAACP. I've worked with some of them over the years. They want to do the right thing, but they're being blocked by their own leadership, by the likes of Reverend Barber, who uses the platform, and Rosalind Brock and the others. They support this.
David, thanks for doing that. Great report tonight. Appreciate it.